Hey guys, welcome back to another episode here today. I am so excited to dive into the topic that I am because I had a very interesting conversation with a friend of mine just a few weeks ago on this specific topic. And as we're talking, I said, you know what? I need to do an entire podcast episode on this because this is something that most women just kind of are told or believe because they probably have been told so by either a doctor or a friend or their parents, like who knows. But it is something that gets taught in the medical field specifically, that is just the way it is, and it has to do with miscarriages. Miscarriages are much more at a higher percentage than they used to be. And we have to find out why that is. And there are some people in the industry that have done studies on this and just showing, like, hey, our miscarriage percentages are at a much higher level than that they used to be. But here's why I want to do this episode. And also, I have notes in front of me because I want to walk you guys through some of these things. So just know, like, if you're watching me on YouTube, I'm going to be looking at some of my notes because I want to make sure that I give you guys accurate information as well. Now, I know quite a bit of this stuff, but I made notes so that I also stay on track because sometimes I like to veer off and go talk about something else. And I made these notes to like keep myself on track. So I had this conversation with her, and she's pregnant, and she had this told me like this whole thought process where she's like, well, you know, I was thinking while I was in my first trimester, like, miscarriages happen. And if it does, there's literally nothing I can do about it, and I can't do anything. I mean, if a miscarriage starts, like, generally, there's not a whole lot you can do, like, it's gonna happen. But her thought process was that she couldn't even do anything to prevent a miscarriage from happening. And that is the way that the medical field explains it. That's the way that they teach. Like, hey, we don't know why miscarriages happen, they just happen. And that's not necessarily true. So, there are various reasons of why a miscarriage can happen. And I'm going to take you through some of the common causes. Obviously, there's chromosomal abnormalities. So there's abnormalities that can happen, and those can be causes of miscarriages. But then we look at things like hormone imbalances. So if you are not checking your hormones and you're having miscarriages, that's one of the missing pieces. We're specifically talking about thyroid, progesterone, insulin resistance, Hashimoto's, that's an autoimmune. If you have any kind of autoimmune stuff going on, endometriosis, like, those are all things that are connected to the hormones, and that can be a reason. Uterine or cervical issues can be a reason. Infections and inflammation. So, if you have a body that is fighting some kind of infection or inflammation, your immune system is hyper alert. And when your immune system is hyper alert, it can be harder to conceive, or it can be harder to prevent that miscarriage because your immune system may actually assume that the fetus of the pregnancy is a foreign invader. It might suspect it, just like Hashimoto's autoimmune, like your immune system, your white blood cells, they assume that your thyroid is a foreign invader and it tries to eat away at it. That's just something to know. High stress and cortisol dysregulation, PCOS, insulin resistance. I already mentioned that. Thyroid or toxin exposure. So if you're someone that is exposed to mold, lots of chemicals, heavy metals, bacterial things, toxic things, those are things that can actually contribute to miscarriages. And that's why it is so important, number one, to know whether or not you have exposure to any of these things. Do you need to do a parasite cleanse or mold detox or anything like that before you get pregnant? Or if you have had multiple miscarriages, is that something that you need to go through? I can't tell you that. What I can tell you is in the year of 2024, I had a total of 5 or 6 women that I worked with, and all of them got pregnant while I was working with them. And a few of them, it was like, oops. They were kind of like planning on it, but not right away. And then we're working through the program and we're cleansing their body. We're giving their body the vitamins and minerals that it needs to bring in balance. We're healing the hormones and the thyroid. And all of a sudden, boom, they get pregnant and it becomes a surprise. So I've had women that came to me and they had, I'm talking like 5 miscarriages, like lots of miscarriages, and their doctors weren't even testing them. If they were testing them, it was very, very basic. And so I'm always like, well, what are they testing? And they're like, not really anything. Like, they're just telling me, like, there's nothing we can do. And I'm like, well, that's a big fat lie. Like, there's so much we can do. Case in point, I had a cousin of mine a few years ago, and she just kept having miscarriages. And one of the things that kept asking her over and over and over, I'm like, what are your doctors testing you for? And she's like, oh, just, my FSH and my LH. And I'm like, that's not enough. Why aren't they checking your progesterone? And the reason I'm asking her whether or not they're checking her progesterone is, here's how progesterone and estrogen work when you're pregnant. When you get pregnant during ovulation, and you need adequate amounts of progesterone in order to ovulate, and then that is what helps you get pregnant. And then your progesterone is supposed to rise, and you need high levels of progesterone specifically in that first trimester to keep you pregnant. So, plain and simple, progesterone's job is to keep you pregnant. Estrogen's job is to help you give birth. So that third trimester, this is when you start getting more loose limbs. This is typically when you start gaining a little bit more fat on your body, and you'll have your hips will widen, and your joints will be more loose. And that's why it's easier to get injured with your joints when you're in your third trimester, because you're more lax. And that is estrogen's job. So estrogen's job is to come in and go up in the third trimester so that you can then give birth, because you can't be a tight, rigid person in order to give birth. So your estrogen goes up third trimester in order to give birth. So that's what their roles are in pregnancy and what they're supposed to be doing. But if you have really low progesterone, which I actually see a lot of really low progesterone in women, young women too, and your estrogen is too high, it's much harder to get pregnant, or you can get pregnant but not stay pregnant because of those levels. And so back to my cousin, this happened, and finally they checked her progesterone and estrogen, and she was in estrogen dominance and didn't have enough progesterone. I'm like, well, there you go. Like, that's at least one of the issues. And so those are just some things to know about that. But then we take it a step further, and we want to look at things from a functional perspective as well. So I explained a little bit about your progesterone and estrogen, but if you have hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, like the thyroid dysfunction like that, both hypothyroidism and autoimmune thyroid issues increased a miscarriage risk by 2 to 4%. So your risks are higher. Now, what I want to tell you here is that I have had women come in and they were in hypothyroidism, even some Hashimoto's, and we started healing their body. We start giving their body what it's needing. We took them through detox and stuff, and all of a sudden they're pregnant. And so it's not impossible. You just have to have the right type of testing done and the right protocol after that. It is very possible. The other thing is PCOS. So PCOS is high insulin resistance. And when you have insulin resistance, that becomes an issue. It's harder to get pregnant when you have insulin resistance. And a lot of women are told when they have PCOS that they may not ever get pregnant, or if they do get pregnant, they wouldn't be able to stay pregnant because of PCOS. So I have this other story of this girl last year that came to me, and we started working together, and she had PCOS, high insulin levels. Had worked with an endocrinologist, and she had worked with some other doctors as well, and just couldn't get anywhere. So we started working together, and she started her healing journey. She was losing weight and feeling so much better. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she gets pregnant. And I was like, whoa, you guys weren't even planning on this. Like, you were thinking 2026 and now you're pregnant. And actually, she just had her baby. And so it was very quick, like how it happened. Here's the crazy part. Before she had got pregnant, she was at her endo appointment one time, and she had talked to her doctor about that at some point, like they want to have another baby because they already have one and they want to have another one. So she told her endo doctor that, and her endo doctor just kind of like pushed it to the side and was like, "Well, when you're ready, we'll talk about fertility treatments." And I was like, I was so dumbfounded. I was like, "She did what?" And she's like, "Yeah, like she didn't even ask about anything else. She just assumed that she would need IVF, like fertility treatments." And so she was like, wait a minute, like that's not what I want to do. And so that's when she came and started working with me. Fast forward, she went to see her endo after she got pregnant. Her husband's there too. She tells her endo, like, hey, I'm pregnant. I got pregnant naturally. And her doctor got mad. Like she didn't show like up front that she was mad, but they could kind of tell like things were off. They leave, and her husband looks at her and he goes, "Was she mad that you got pregnant without her help?" She's like, "Yeah, I think she was." So then she got an email the following week from that endo and was like, "I can't help you anymore, so I can't have you as a client." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." So I want you guys to know something. IVF treatment is very expensive. It's a bank. Like it makes doctors a lot of money. So why wouldn't they push IVF? But the problem is they are pushing IVF and fertility treatments on people that they don't need to be pushing it on. There's so many things that and steps that should be taken and done before you ever even get to IVF. And if these steps have not been done, then you're spending a lot of money that you could save. So I just want you to know that. And I've seen this happen over and over and over with people that I have worked with. So I want you to know that you don't have to go that route until you know, hey, I've done my diet, make sure that I have my vitamins and minerals in place, my immune system, my gut, like all of those things are in place. And you worked hard on it, and you eat well, you sleep well, you exercise, like you've done the foundations of what you need to do. And if it's still an issue, then you look at it. So I want you to know that there are so many options before you even ever get to that. So let's talk a little bit about nutritional deficiency. So even small gaps of micronutrients can interfere with cell division, like DNA replication and implantation. So this matters for the man and the woman. And this is what I teach my couples if I'm working with a couple or if I'm working with the wife and she's asking me about the health of the husband. And this is what I tell every single one of them. At the time of conception, the health of the sperm, which is the husband or the man, is equally as important as the health of the woman. So it's very, very important if you want a healthy baby that you make sure that the dad to be has healthy sperm. And if you have not done anything to make sure that you have good, healthy sperm, you want to take about 6 months to do so. Eating healthy, making sure you're taking your vitamins and minerals, making sure you're sleeping. Those are the things that you want to do to build up and make sure that you have healthy sperm. So at the time of conception, I mean, you guys have it so easy. At the time of conception and the health of that sperm, that's your job. You have one job, and that is to make sure that you have healthy sperm in order to conceive and have a healthy conception. That's all you got to do. That's it. The rest is up to the mother. And you'll be better thanking us for this because the health of the mother, you got the placenta. So let's just talk about this a bit. B vitamins like B12, B6, and folate. Now, I'm not talking about folic acid. You should never take folic acid when you are pregnant, or just in general, I wouldn't. But folate, these things are needed for methylation and DNA stability. When I was pregnant, I was taking beef liver capsules and for all my B vitamins, and then I may have been taking a folate as well, but I also used some really top quality prenatal that had all of additional things like that in there. Iron and ferritin. So low iron impacts oxygen delivery to the placenta. So if you have low iron, specifically ferritin, which is your iron storage, that is part of that oxygen delivery to the placenta. And if you're not familiar with this, the placenta is what feeds the baby. So you want a healthy placenta. So I remember when I was pregnant, I did a whole bunch of things to make sure that I was feeding the placenta. And one of those things was choline. So making sure that when I wasn't sick, I was eating eggs for choline, but I had to eat a lot of eggs in one day to get the choline requirements that I needed or that I wanted to get. So I just took an extra choline supplement. And choline helps feed the placenta and have a nice healthy placenta, and that placenta is what feeds the baby, but is also really good for brain support. You got some choline in a beef liver capsule as well, so that's always an option too. Magnesium and zinc are vital for hormone synthesis and egg quality. And vitamin D supports immune tolerance during pregnancy. So, one of the things that happens when you are pregnant is your immune system will be weakened. So, your chances of getting sick are higher because your immune system's just going to feel more compromised because it's growing a human being. And this goes back to the Tylenol conversation because a lot of women may get fevers and headaches when they are pregnant. And so that's why these things matter so much. So if you're not eating healthy and you're not taking the right types of vitamins and minerals, that's going to be a much bigger issue. So these are all things to know and do in order to support. And if you have these things in place, your chances of a miscarriage are much lower. Some other things that can contribute to miscarriages are gut inflammation, like leaky gut or dysbiosis, candida, which is a high yeast, parasites, or H. pylori. These can raise systemic inflammation and trigger autoimmune reactions against the embryo. So, if you have these types of things going on, they can contribute to it as well. Remember this: 70% of your immune system lives in the gut, and chronic inflammation here often translates to poor implantation or early rejection. So, if you have chronic inflammation in your gut, that is where your immune system is, and that could cause some rejection of the embryo. And then here are some other things, some mold. So let's say you have mold toxicity, food sensitivities, or endotoxins. All of these can raise inflammation and impair fertility. Blood sugar and insulin resistance, I talked about a little bit, but high insulin and glucose swings interfere with hormone signaling and implantation. And so one of the things that I was looking into is that insulin resistance can increase miscarriages risks 3 to 5 times, even without PCOS. If you just have high insulin resistance, your risk for a miscarriage goes up 3 to 5 times. And you can have high insulin resistance without PCOS. So, those are just things to consider and know. This can be a contributor, and there's so many things that you can do. Toxin overload. So, things like pesticides, BPA, heavy metals, these things can damage eggs and disrupt hormones and alter methylation. So I want you to think about methylation. When you hear the word methylation, we are talking about the liver. So there's 3 phases of detoxification with the liver. So the liver's already working really hard because you're growing a human being, and the liver's job is to also keep the baby safe. And so it's working even more to detox and methylate. So when you hear the word methylation, you think about your liver. Phase one and phase two detoxification is part of the liver's process. And then phase three detoxification pathway is the methylation of the liver. Folate is responsible to help with this, and this is connected to your homocysteine levels, which is an inflammation marker in your liver that we look for. And so when you have a chronic overload of toxins and endo disruptors and BPAs and heavy metals and pesticides and all that stuff, you're overloading the liver, and therefore this can disrupt your hormones and it can affect your eggs as well. I was sitting at a restaurant outside the other day and I saw a group of ladies walk by that had been out. It looked like they were out shopping and then they got like coffee or food or something. And one of the ladies was pregnant and they're walking by and they all had a bag of Bath and Body Works skincare is stuff in there, soaps, lotions, whatever. And I just kind of like my heart hurt because I realized just how many women still don't know how hormone disrupting those products are. They are full of parabens, full of toxins, full of phthalates and BPAs in the plastics. And it's just absolute trash what this product is. And those are the things that can contribute to this because they're endocrine disruptors. I actually just was chatting back and forth with a client of mine who said that she was babysitting at a house for a friend of hers who has twins. And she's like, I couldn't figure out, like, I'm always so tired when I get done babysitting these twins, but I got a massive headache. Like, I couldn't understand why I have a massive headache. And so all of a sudden she realized that the whole time that she was there, there was a Bath and Body Works candle that was on while she was there. And I'm the same way, like, I cannot have any kind of toxic candles in my house. Like, if you come to my house, you're not going to smell any kind of like candles and things like maybe some essential oil here and there, but I don't need to smell things up. Like, things are fine the way that they are without a whole bunch of smelly stuff. So she got this massive headache. And she's the type of person that she can go all day, not be tired, no caffeine, nothing. Like, she can do that. And her friend's like, I don't know how you get through the day without caffeine. And then she left and she said, I left and I drove home. And as soon as I left the house and I went home, my headache was gone by the time I got home. That is how quickly these endocrine disrupting items can affect you. So perfumes and candles and the really toxic things that you're putting on your hair and your skin, like, those are the things that are endocrine disruptors. And I 100% believe that they are connected and contribute to miscarriages as well. I'm convinced. And there's actually a Dr. Amen. He's actually done a video on this before. And so I know he does a whole lot of work in the field and he studies a lot of that stuff. But that is also why I'm so passionate about the skincare Miss Commando that I have, because they are non-toxic. They still smell good, but they don't have any parabens in them, no phthalates, nothing. Like, there's no toxins in these things. And it's really, really important to know that what you're putting on your skin isn't filled with all that crap because it will affect you. So, food for thought, like, know that there are things that you can do. And if you are someone that has been dealing with not being able to get pregnant, or you are getting pregnant and you're having miscarriage after miscarriage, that's devastating. That's hard on the body. And it is devastating for you, your spirit, and your soul. And I want you to know that there are answers and there are possibilities. And if you're at a dead end where you're like, I don't know where to go from here, I want you to come in. Like, you can go to my website, undietU.com. You can book a consultation with me and we'll go through everything and we'll look at, hey, what do we need to get tested and what do you need to start giving your body? You could be one of those women that I was working with last year and this year. And I believe there's like 5 or 6 kids, babies that are born now, and we call them undiet babies. It's so cool. And be someone that's like, oh wow, like there are options. Like I can heal, and this is a possibility. And trust me, it's cheaper than getting IVF and going through the pain of IVF. So just know that as well. Some functional healing focuses that you can do before pregnancy is supporting your detox pathways, your liver, your lymph, your gut. You got to replete your nutrients. So you got to make sure that you test what kind of nutrients you're deficient in, vitamins and minerals. Work on your thyroid and your adrenals, address your gut health and your inflammation, stabilize your blood sugars. I know all of that stuff sounds easier than done, but with the right type of help, it's not that complicated. You just got to know what to do. And that's what I teach you inside my coaching program. And then you want to lower your toxic and emotional stress overload, like all of the things that are bringing in all these toxins and creating a toxic environment makes it nearly impossible for the body to get pregnant and stay pregnant. So I know this is a lot of information, but I needed to do this episode to give women and men as well hope, like, hey, there are things that you can do and you don't have to settle. It's just a matter of doing the right type of testing and giving your body the right type of support that it needs, and you can have a beautiful baby after that you so badly want. So thanks for listening, you guys. Hope you guys enjoy it. And as always, if you are listening and you love it, and even if you don't love it, don't gatekeep. Make sure you leave a 5-star review, subscribe and save, and let your friends and family know. And I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning into the Lizzie Ens Show. If you're ready to take the next step to transforming your health and life, visit www.undietyou.com for all my resources and to book your consultation today. Don't forget to subscribe and join me each week for more tips, inspiration, and conversations with phenomenal guests to help you feel your best. See you guys next week.